Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Guys, before we get into the topic that really took over, believe it or not, over the score of the football game yesterday, Pitt falling to Notre Dame 58-7 in a crushing defeat, and just not a good game overall. Before we get into it, and the Pat Narduzzi comments that really took over the storm of everything, and we're gonna take a deep dive into this and put some real perspective to it. But before we get into it, guys, please subscribe to the channel down below. Please like, comment, let me know your thoughts from this as well. I like hearing your comments. I'm bringing a general perspective to this today, and I did it the day after because one, I wanted to diagnose everything. I wanted to take everything in, listen to all sides, and just put it together. And I'm going to put it into perspective of really what I think, and these are my opinions. And what I saw and what I know from this coaching staff, from Pat Narduzzi, and also the players that are on this team. And I'm giving you my honest opinion, like I always do. No bullshit in between. This is the truth of how I see it. Before we get into it, guys, this episode is sponsored by Colonial Beer at 4986 Library Road, Bethel Park, PA. Guys, obviously the fake slide Pilsner is well known, especially in Colonial Beer. But guess what? They also have numerous other selections when you walk in there. As soon as you hit the store, you see the multiple different selections, whether it's a party you're going to, whether it's a party you're setting, any type of different options that you have. It's the fake slide Pilsner that has been brought to there, but also other options in the store as well. Also run and operated by Pitt men, and we'll get into what it means to be a Pitt man today. But also they have just a numerous selection, but the fake slide Pilsner, which helps pay the players, but also, too, does support Alliance 412, which is the preferred collective of the University of Pittsburgh. Guys, today, I'm sitting here right now at 6 o'clock tonight. Really looking at yesterday is a tough day, not just because of the score, but just to see the team really look divided on Twitter yesterday, or X, whatever you want to call it. And if you weren't there, I'm going to go over the full quote. Actually, I'll give you the full quote, not just a portion of it, the actual full quote of it. Pat Narduzzi went to the podium yesterday after a loss, an embarrassing loss to say the least. As you can imagine, Pat Narduzzi's upset, the coaching staff's upset, but more importantly, the players are upset as well about a performance like that on national television. And so nobody's happy. But I wanted to go into his actual response here. And this is the entire response. And again, I appreciated people like Jim Hammock, Chris P. putting up the actual full text content, the quote of what he said. And it was this. Pat Narduzzi stated in a question that was asked to him about why your team is in the position that it is. He says, I'll go back. As a football coach, you lose a lot of good players from a year ago. And you think as a coach, you're going to replace them. And obviously we haven't. Again, it starts with me. I didn't do a good enough job coaching today. Put it on me, and we've got to make plays. End of quote. Guys, here's what I want to say about this. And I there will be some people who really disagree with me on this, and that's fine. I'm a person where I will raise my hand right now. I have been critical of this staff. I have been critical of the players, just like numerous other people in the fan base. But I have been. When you look at Pat Narduzzi's comment, okay, you're coming off the field. There's a photo of him hugging Sebo Flemister, obviously a guy that was played at Notre Dame, came to Pitt, wanted to come to Pitt, started this past game. It's a tough loss. You're looking to get revenge on your former team. But when you look at it, guys, I'm telling you right now, Pat Narduzzi loves his players. And I'm going to go into more of that why. But here's another thing, too. One of the things I loved, and obviously it was in the Alliance 412 portal, the interview with Tyler Palko. One of the things that he talked about, which, again, at Notre Dame, he's so hyped up after the big win. They talk about the cool-down period. The cool-down period of understanding you just don't run into something and start answering questions because then you drop an F-bomb, even though how awesome it was and how electric it was and how excited he was. That cool-down period's there for a reason. Pat Narduzzi, a guy that's never been known to mince words or have the correct words sometimes, or most of the time when it comes to the media. I just want people to understand this and think about this. And I understand, he's the head football coach at the University of Pittsburgh, and he should know this. When you're walking off a field and you've put so much time, so much effort into coaching, into preparation, your players, you think you have them prepared, and you go out and completely lay an egg, a 58-7 egg. In your mind, can you imagine how pissed off you got to be? These guys are some of the most competitive people in the world, not just Pat, not just that staff, but the players. It's Division I Power 5 football. Very select few in the country, less than 1% are on that field across the country. So in your mind, okay, you're automatically pissed off about what you're seeing, what you saw. Now you got to answer questions about it. Where did it go wrong? I thought we had a great game plan. He's asked questions, and I know people talked about, well, look at his body language. Look at his body language. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I mean, he's going to be pissed off. He's going to be pissed off because they lost. And in his mind, he's not saying, well, it's completely on my players. It's not. He knows he has a problem with the offensive coordinator and the offensive scheme and the offense in general. He knows that there's other issues, especially on special teams, whether it's punting, tackling. You looked at the overall function of the game. It was a long day. When you look at Pat and what he said, yes, when he said, I thought we brought enough guys in, I thought we were able to overlook the players that we lost last year that went to the National Football League, I was wrong. One, people automatically think, well, no, he's just saying the players, man, he didn't bring in enough good talent. He might also be saying there as well, if you really think about it. He might have thought that some of these younger guys were ready to step up in certain moments, but they're just not there yet. He said it last week with Jordan Bass. The guy goes from 0 snaps to 12 to 51 snaps. He even said, that's not fair to put a freshman in that type of game and that much playing time. And he said he's going to continue to learn. When they came into the season, he probably thought, hey, we're a young football team, but man, we got a hell of a lot of talent. We've got a hell of a lot of talent on this team, and I think we got these guys coached up enough to where we're going to compete at the same level we were the past 2 seasons. And in his mind right now, sitting at 2-6, walking off a field, losing 58-7, clearly not. And people say, well, he tried to backtrack and say, well, he knew what he said. Do you really think Pat Narduzzi is standing there saying, well, I definitely just messed up what I just said. I better backtrack? No. It's the collective of, it's not just one person. It's everybody. It's everybody. Very rarely does Pat Narduzzi walk out on a forum or anything like that and completely just calls out one guy on his football team or a group of people on his football team. He doesn't. He just always said it's never one guy. What I can tell you is this. It killed me to see that quote and the short quote of what it was. And it really, if it was here, you lose a lot of players from a year ago, and you think you think as a coach you're going to replace them, and obviously we haven't. And then that's where it stops. Yeah, the players are going to be a little bit pissed off because it's not just the players, it's the coaches too. But even Pat says, it starts with me. It starts with me. I didn't do a good enough job coaching today. We got to go out there and make plays. And he also said, we need to coach better. Guys, I understand where people say, well, look at the body language. He was backing off. He basically called out his players. When you look at the full context of what he was saying, it's thinking that, hey, we have a young team. I thought I had them prepared. I thought I had them coached. Okay. And in terms of what Pat said, am I completely vindicating what Pat said? No. Was it worded correctly at all? No. Yesterday, we saw Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, ask a question about how do you keep Shador Sanders, his son, the quarterback, up straight, healthy, not as dirty, clean. His response was not that anything about coaching. He says, very simple. I'll make a perfectly picture for you. We need to go out and get better offensive linemen. I haven't seen anything in terms of ripping him. Mark Stoops, 2 weeks ago at Kentucky. What did he say here? The full quote, because this is such a lovely quote from Mark Stoops. If I can find it here. Hold on one second. Yeah, Mark Stoops. Fans have the right to complain. I just encourage them to donate more because that's what those dudes are doing. I can promise you, Georgia, they bought some pretty good players. You're allowed to these days. We could use some help. Blaming the fans for why they can't compete. You look around the league, around college football. Here's what I can tell you. This football team, and I'm telling you this right now, Pitt fans, this football team is as tight as it gets. It means something to these football players to be Pitt men. And in a way, they saw that comment and they all came together to say, hey, it's not just the players, it's coaching as well. You look at how close this team is, what being a Pitt man really means. These guys are as close as it gets to when it comes on the field and off the field. They don't just get together. They don't just get together on the football field and talk and everybody goes their separate ways. These guys hang out off the football field. They're as close as it gets. And I watched a bunch of people say last night, oh, well, he's completely lost a locker room. These guys now everyone's going to jump in the portal. Everyone's going to be really upset. No. This team will come together and be closer off of this. And guess what? Today's Sunday. There was a team meeting today. Probably a team lift and a practice as well. This team will grow closer together because of all this, because it's going to clear the air. They're going to talk about it. But what I can tell you is this team is extremely close in that locker room. Whether it's Rodney Hammond, whether it's Jake Cradle, Gavin Bartholomew, you got Ryan Jacoby, Ryan Bayer, Shane Simon, Bengali Kamara, Marquez Williams, MJ Devonshire, leaders across the board. Nate Yarnell, Christian Veyer, leaders across the board. I always tell people, family means something. This is a family. Family to me is an acronym for me. Family. Forget about me. I love you. These guys are as close as it gets when it comes to each other. And this is the kind of stuff sometimes when you have a family, any family. Think about your own. There's arguments always inside the family internally. Some people don't agree with everything. Sometimes people really argue and it's based off of one opinion and based off another. But the collective group is like this. No matter what. It's always like this. When you look at this team, they're in a tough stretch. They're 2-6. It's been a bad year. There's been questionable play calling, questionable coaching, missed plays, whatever. It's been that type of year. Injuries have been another one. When you look at this collective team, it is a family. They are a family in that room. They will not allow outside sources, outside media to portray this team as lost, confused, against each other, coaching staff against players. It's not built that way. It's not. How long ago did Pat Narduzzi get into an argument with Coach Prime about taking that job and the importance of keeping those players, not just cutting guys, because those are the guys that you chose? The same thing when he got here in 2015. There's definitely more talent now. There is talent on this football team. There's questionable coaching and play calling, but there's good football players on this team, on both sides of the football. I watch people lose their minds over one game, and it's an embarrassing game. It's a horrible game. And fans have every right to be mad. Every right. Because there's no way in hell in year 9 should that stuff look like that. That barrage and hell of a shit show of a game. It should never look like that. Especially how it started, where the defense was on fire. Multiple interceptions. It looked like the ACC championship game all over again. This team, Pat Narduzzi loves his players. The players love each other. Guys like Tyquan Underwood. Guys like Coach Partridge, Charlie Partridge, Archie Collins, Corey Sanders, right? Randy Bates, Andre Powell. Those guys are all there. Ryan Manilak, Tim Salem. These guys all love each other. To see, well, we're going to lose all these players and everyone's now distraught and no one wants to be here, that's bullshit. Families argue. When you talk about what it means to be a pit man, these players understand it. Kind of reminds me of when Bill Freilich was here and talked to the team numerous times about what it meant to be a pit man, overcoming adversity, not dealing with the outside noise, and how close this university is as a family, as how they are as people. This program's a lot different than other places. I got news for you. A lot of places claim family. A lot of places claim they treat their players well. A lot of times, that's bullshit. I can tell you this, Lincoln Riley don't treat his players like that. Mark Stoops doesn't. Mario Cristobal doesn't. There's numerous coaches out there. This team is as close as it gets. They are selfless. It's we, not me. Just because there's an argument in the family doesn't mean that the world falls apart. Doesn't mean that it falls apart. These guys will continue to come together. They'll grow from this. It'll bring a lot of honesty. And again, what Pat said should have been worded 10 times better than what he said. Under no circumstance am I saying that he's off the hook. He knows better, and it was on him and on this coaching staff and Frank Signetti for not putting together a game plan where you don't target Gavin Bartholomew, not even once. That's bullshit. It should never be that way. This team is going through a tough season. But you look at the injuries, how young this team is, there is talent on this team. And I can tell you this, I love every one of these guys, every one of these players on this football team, because they're tough as nuts. They're tough. They're a young football team. There's a lot of inexperience, but you continue to see them grow each game. You might not see a lot of improvement. Sometimes people don't see it because, well, we only scored 7 points, Jay. What the hell are you talking about? Jay, I hate the positivity. Why can't you be more proactive and just criticizing everybody? Because I do see it from both sides. There's plenty of negativity. There's plenty of shit they need to fix. Trust me. There's plenty of stuff that needs fixed. I think a lot of it is coaching, to be quite frank with you. But there's a lot of talent on this football team. The incoming recruits see that. The incoming recruits know it's a family, and so do the guys in that locker room. One moment in a moment of after a 58-7 loss does not define one individual or this program. Let these other media people, let these other schools talk about whatever the hell they want. Who cares? You block out the noise. It's a close-knit group and family in there. They stick up for each other. They truly care about each other. It's a different world. It's a different perspective in that building. It killed me to see all that stuff yesterday. It really did, from top to bottom. Whether it was the coaching staff, the players, the fans, that's not Pitt football. That's not what Pitt men are. And in the case of the fan base, Pitt men and women, that's not who we are. It's constantly supporting this team and, more importantly, finding ways to fix the problems and sticking together. Cohesive unit. We, not me. It can be done. There will always be problems in a family. Always. There will be disagreements, no matter what. These guys are as close as it gets. One moment will not define what this team does going forward. One moment will not decide what this team does for the future. One moment will not define what this family and these guys are worth. Family, forget about me. I love you. Those guys know that. Those guys care about each other. One moment where media tries to take things out of context and just put it into a negative narrative and then allow the fans to dive in because it's after our 58-7 loss, which is bullshit in itself. It should have never happened. But just a mountain of things that happen whenever you're 2-6. It's all going to be negative. It's all going to be bad. And there's a reason for that. There are problems in the program right now that need fixed. But to abandon ship and to think that this is a falling, massacre where it just can never recover is wrong. These guys are close. These guys get it. They're brothers in there. I've seen some of them. I've talked to some of them. I know exactly what they're doing. That's a tough group in there. It's a tough group of players that are young, that will just be perfectly fine from this. It's always been pit against everybody. Always has been, always will be. There will be no change in that. These guys are tough as nails, and they're close, and they're tight-knit. One moment won't define them. Not in the way of Pat Narduzzi, not in the way of Coach Partridge, Coach Underwood, any of those guys. Archie Collins, Randy Bates, Ryan Manilak. Trust me, there was probably plenty of conversation going on about what happened. But guess what? That group is close. You can totally be upset with Pat Narduzzi's comments and think that, man, that was wrong. But you can bet your ass after a hard loss like that team's going to come together and it's back on the saddle for this week against Florida State. You can bet your ass. Losing will predicate bad things and mount on top of each other. It's about finding a way, getting a win in a time you think you're not going to get it, and to get it now and to find a way to do it. Under no circumstance do I think in a moment of Pat Narduzzi saying something bad, did he mean that he didn't care about his players or he didn't like his players or he thought he didn't have a talented team, because it's bullshit. He just knows that there's problems in that program because it's on him. And he's pissed off because he made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. And he needs to fix it. And it's after a massive loss. Those are some of my thoughts. But more importantly, I'll leave you with this. It's one of my favorite quotes. Anything I ever I do in the morning, I read it every morning. But now I actually memorize it to where it doesn't matter anymore to me because I say it every day. Success is not final. Failure is not failure. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. And also, the man in the arena. These guys will be fine. Changes need to be made in the program, and they will, but it doesn't mean you stop supporting the guys that are still there. And allowing outside noise from the middle of the state or from another state right below us. That's not how we do things. That's not how these players want things to be done. It's a tight-knit group, and changes will be coming at the end of the year, like I've been saying the entire time, but support these guys. They're doing the right things all the time, and they're busting their ass. This team will become closer. Bet your ass on that. No matter who's against the media, teams, world, doesn't matter. This group will come together as it always has, and it always will, because they're tough players. They're tough. They're mentally tough, and they're physically tough. No doubt in my mind. I am not concerned about this at all. And I can't wait to see how they respond. Guys, those are my thoughts on the Pat Narduzzi comments. And, I know obviously Notre Dame, that the game was bad. But I don't think we need to go over that enough because we know about the play calling and everything else. But, guys, let me know your thoughts. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think. I know this will be seen by a ton of people. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Because I always like talking to you guys. And I always love meeting different people, especially whether it's at the game, at Southern Tier, at PITT events. It's always great to see you guys. And the channel is the way it is because of you guys, because we're not serving up bullshit. It's facts. And for real. All authentic. Guys, I appreciate everything you guys do for the channel and what you do in supporting my channel and supporting PITT Athletics. Guys, as always and forever, hail to PITT. We, not me. It can be done. I'll see you guys later.